All right, welcome to Get on the Ark. For those who don't know who we are, this is a show about how God is doing extraordinary and miraculous things in ordinary people's lives. There's a storm coming, a spiritual storm with dark days ahead for all of humanity. And just as God warned Noah to build an ark for his family from the coming flood, all across the globe, God is calling his people out of the darkness and out of complacency and into a relationship with Jesus to save us from the storm that is coming to our generation. So welcome to Get on the Ark. Today we have a very special guest, Pastor Todd Compton. Welcome, Pastor Compton.
Hey, great to be here. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's I was really fortunate to get a chance to meet you and your family, you and your wife Darlene and your son Zach, and along this journey that I did with the mattress business. And I met you, and you guys had just an incredible story, and I'd love to share it. So, I guess initially when you were sharing about your faith, you kind of, if you can just walk us through a little bit about how you met Jesus and how you walked away and then came back.
Yeah, sure. When I was a kid, growing up in the Bible Belt, I was taken to church all the time by my mother. And when I was a teenager, I had, I guess you could say, through so-called church hurt or whatever, I left church. And I went probably 20, 25 years away from church. Got out into sin, was drinking, was, just a normal sinner, doing all the things that sinners do. And when I met my wife and we started getting serious about getting married and all, she had grown up in church and had also left. And when we got together, then we decided, when she got pregnant with Zach, I decided, you know what, I don't want to live that life any longer. I don't want my son to see me drinking. I don't want him to see me doing all of those things like I was doing. And so I was, at that time, I was driving a truck, and I was hauling a load somewhere into North Carolina or South Carolina. I don't remember where now. But the Lord had really been dealing with me, and I had bought an old Bible at Walmart. I just thought, you know what, if God, if I'm going to serve you, I want to know how, I want to know what, I want to know who, I want to know it all. And so I'd bought that Bible, and as I was driving, when I would be unloading at a Lowe's or a Home Depot or something, I would have that Bible on the steering wheel and just reading and reading and reading. And God was really dealing with my heart. And then one day I was going down the road, and it was just like I couldn't stop shaking. And I had tears running down my cheeks, and I just couldn't stop. So I pulled over into a rest area and got into the sleeper berth on the truck and knelt down, and I was just praying. And I'm like, Lord, I'm a scoundrel. I'm a sinner. I've got a really bad attitude, bad anger issues. But Lord, if you can use me, use me. Here I am. And I just broke that day, and it just changed my life then. And so that was basically how I came back to him. I just had to surrender all and say, Lord, there ain't much, but if you can use it, here it is.
Wow. So after that moment, what if you look back at your life before Jesus, and then when you fully surrendered, what did you notice changed?
I stopped. Well, number one, I stopped doing the things that I did before, and but it wasn't a instant thing, But I started feeling him tugging at me to do different things. We were going to church, and I started feeling the call to minister. And it's a funny note. I was told that when I was a child, I said, I'm gonna grow up and be a preacher when I was a kid. But I didn't remember that. But I started feeling that call to preach, and just kept studying the Bible. We were going to a few different churches trying to find the proper fit for us, where we belonged, and just kept growing closer to him and closer to him. and started seeing him do work, do things that was beyond my scope, beyond my ability, and started seeing him working in our lives and drawing us closer to him, even moving us completely away from our families and out of state to get us into a church and get us moving in the direction he wanted us to go.
Wow. Well, and so you always wanted to be a preacher as a kid.
Yeah.
And now it's coming to fruition. Do you remember your first sermon?
Oh yeah.
So tell us about your first sermon.
It was one. We were going to church, and just a neat little story. At the time, we were struggling. We were having troubles, but financially. But we were driving to the church, and there was this little old country church that sat out along the highway, but it had beautiful stained glass windows. It was just a little clapboard siding white church with these beautiful windows, and something clicked into my mind about that glass and about those windows, and so I started writing it in a notebook. I've still got it in a notebook. I just started writing this about how we are all like that stained glass, how that each of us may be a different color, a different shade of green or a shade of red or shade of blue, but God will break us from a sheet. He will break us and he'll take those shards and put them together and make this beautiful picture. And then the stained glass is beautiful, even with the lights off. But once the light's on inside that building and it's shining forth, then that just shows the true beauty of God. And that's the way we are as people. He takes, let's say, you and me and my wife and different people of different colors of glass, and we're stained by sin. So that glass is our stains. And he breaks that, and he molds us together then. And then when his light shines forth out of us, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And that was what I preached on the first time.
Wow. That's awesome. What so along your journey, I know you have an incredible story that only can be explained by God,
Yes.
or his existence. I'm sure you have a lot of them, but
Yeah.
share about your Darlene and Zach, like that story when they were in the hospital and she was giving birth.
All right.
And where were you along the way? Like, were you already pastoring a church at this time?
No, this was when I had just gave my life to God. And I was, like I said, I was reading that Bible. I still got it. It's held together by duct tape now. I was just reading my Bible. I was studying. I was trying to find out. But I had one thing that um, so many that seems like is missing in today's world, and that was faith. And I just believed, hey, God said it. I believe it. It's going to happen. And I was driving a truck, and we didn't know how sick Darlene was. And I was driving a truck, and I was in Charleston, South Carolina, picking up a load of steel on a flatbed. And I got a call that they had to rush her to the hospital. And she was 8 months or so along. And I turned and I made the fastest trip ever back to Virginia. There are probably still warrants for me in South Carolina, North Carolina, but I came back. I went straight to the hospital. I got there, went in, and they had her in a private delivery room, hooked up to all these monitors. And I went in and I saw her, and I noticed that the nurse, the doctor wasn't there, but the nurse was there. I wish I could remember her name, and she was taking care of Darlene. And the family, her family, and my family had gathered out in the waiting room, and they wanted an update. So I stepped out to tell them how she was doing. And I was out there maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and the nurse opened the door and said, "Mr. Compton, you need to come tell your wife goodbye." And so I just looked at our family, and said, "Pray," and went back in. And her blood pressure had just bottomed out. Her heart rate was dropping. Zach, they couldn't find a heart rate for him. And so I had nothing to do but call on God. And I fell to my knees beside the bed, and I just started praying. And I said, God, take my life, take my breath, and give it to them. Take my heartbeat and give it to them. Let them live and take me in their place. And it's like I was down praying that, and almost immediately I heard the monitors change, and they started coming back up. Not a lot, but they were coming back up and stabilizing. And the nurse said, "We need to deliver your son." And I'm like, "Well, get the doc," you know. And they're like, "Well, he's gone to lunch." So she said, "You and I are going to deliver your son." And so uh, I got up. She told me what to do, and I was actually Darlene couldn't. She was just she didn't know where she was or anything. So I was doing the pushing, manually pushing to try to get Zach out, and the nurse was doing the other part, the medical part. And so it took us a few minutes, probably 15, 20 minutes, but we were able to deliver Zach. And about the time that Zach was delivered, the doctor came in. I always joked. I said, he came in, he had mustard streaked across his face, but he came in time to catch. And but he got Zach, and the nurse was taking care of Darlene, trying to keep her stable. And when Zach was born, his right arm was up over his head, and the cord was wrapped around his arm and around his neck, and he was blue as a blueberry. He wasn't breathing, and it was 2 or 3 minutes there that I don't think I breathed either, just waiting and waiting while the doctor was trying to get him to breathe. Finally, then we heard that cry. We heard him breathe and cry, and so they rushed him off to like an incubator or whatever, and I stayed with Darlene, and they were still working on her and getting her stabilized. And so God just moved. God turned that situation around where the nurse said, there's no hope. You need to come tell them bye. And God moved and saved them both. And then, but he wasn't done there. When the doctor came in again, he said, we've got Zach stabilized. He didn't call him Zach. He said, we've got your son stabilized, and he's going to be okay, but he's going to have a palsy arm. And I don't know if they still use that term today, but then they said, he's going to have a crippled arm. Said where the circulation was cut off in his arm for so long that it won't grow, that he'll never use it, so forth and so on like that. And I said, you know what? You don't know my God. So we just kept praying. And then another doctor came in the next day. I think it was another doctor. And he came in the next day, and he was telling us, giving us an update on Zachary, or giving me an update. Darlene was still out of it. And I said, well, how's his arm? The doctor said, what do you mean? I said, well, yesterday he told me his arm would be crippled, his right arm. The doctor said, I can't find anything wrong with him. And now he's about to turn 21. He plays guitar, he plays piano, and he can take that right arm and pick me up and twirl me around like a baton. So,
Wow.
yeah, God is great. God moved, and God's not only saved their lives, but he healed his arm right there that day in the hospital. So I just give him the glory because he did it.
So, that's such a beautiful story, incredible story. I just love how you instinctively got on your knees and said, God, take my breath, take my heart, and give it to them. So your next sermon, what was your next message?
Well,
did that impact I know that impacted your faith and your journey, but so tell us about what happened next and how that.
Well, at the time I wasn't preaching yet, but now once I started, I preach on faith a lot, and we have seen miracles like crazy. We've had people that don't attend our church just show up and say, we've heard that you guys have faith. We've heard that you guys pray. Will you pray for me? And we've seen miracles just in the church. People come and get prayed and get their miracle and then never see them again. And just miracle after miracle. But there's no trick to it that I've found. It's just believe. Just believe God's word and have faith. And he works. I know that I tell you a funny one on me. One Sunday I had preached, and this was after we bought the farm and we're living here. One Sunday I preached on faith, and we came home, and my wife owned some goats at that time. And if you don't know anything about goats, well, they're straight, they're a devil. And they had got me mad after we got home from church because they were breaking out of the fences and eating the garden and doing the things goats do. And I was trying to pull a rope out from under something at the barn, and it's one of those stiff nylon ropes like a lariat. And at the time, I didn't wear glasses, and I was mad. And I just gave it a big yank, and when I did, the end of that rope came and hit me in the eye, and I didn't even see it coming. I didn't have time to blink or anything, and it popped me right in the pupil. And immediately, my eye, I lost all vision in my right eye, and it just, my pupil filled up with blood. And so I knew I was in trouble. And my wife, she went to get my pickup, and I fell down, and I won't admit it. I was being a brat. I was on my knees with my face on the ground, and I was saying, why, Lord? Why does this have to happen? I've got a family to take care of, and I can't drive a truck if I can't see out of my right eye, and so forth and so on. And all of a sudden, there was a little hand that touched me on the back, and Zach leaned down. And he said, "Daddy," he said, "what did you preach today?" I said, "Okay." So I got up, and my wife showed up with her truck, and my mother, she goes to church with us, and she's always been a prayer warrior. And my wife said, "All right, are we going to the hospital? Or are we going to your mother's to have prayer?" And I said, "Let's go to Mom's." So they loaded me in the truck. I couldn't drive. I still couldn't see out of that eye. And we went to Mom's, and when we got there, first thing we did was we had prayer for it. And then Mom said, "I'm putting on coffee." And so she went to make coffee. By the time the coffee was done, I could see again. And you could literally just about watch the blood drain out of that pupil to where I could see again. And before then, I had 20/20 vision. And the next time I went to renew my license, you have to have a DOT physical. The next time I went for a DOT physical, when they did my eye test, I ended up with 20/18 in this eye. It was better than before.
Wow.
And God is he's fantastic. And of course, now I wear glasses, but that's because it's AGE, is because of age. But but he healed me that day. Just so many miracles we've seen, and it's nothing we do, it's nothing you do. It's just believe, only believe. I love that section in the Bible where he tells the Jairus, he said, just believe. After they came and told him his daughter was dead, Jesus just told him, said, only believe.
Just gotta believe.
Gotta believe. Just gotta believe.
Do you have I know you love the whole Bible and all the verses, but do you have like kind of a life verse or a very popular verse that you use a lot?
That's a tough one. I do. I love the whole Bible, and my favorite verse changes usually from month to month. Probably that one is one of them. Is only believe, and the other one is not actually a verse, but a story in the Bible, and it's about the prodigal son. Where and the thing that I love about it is the father. Is that all that the prodigal son did, everything that he did, the father never quit looking for him. Because it said, while he was a long ways off, while he was afar off, said the Father saw him. So Dad was standing on the porch watching for him. So that to me is a beautiful story. That's a
Yes.
story. And that's the way the Lord is with us. He's always looking for us to come back.
Yes. What's your kind of a closing message for anyone that's watching and they haven't completely surrendered or haven't given their life to Jesus yet? What would be your message to those people?
To come home. Just come home. God is like that Father. He's always watching. And let the noise of the world just go away. Let it just fade away and focus on Him and believe in Him. And, we all face stuff. We all have struggles. Whether it's financial, whether it's physical, whether it's spiritual, no matter what, just believe. And I preached one time, are you going to believe what, the doctor says or what the Bible says? Are you going to believe what the banker says or what the doctor says? No matter what this world has to say, the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so we've just got to believe in Him and believe that, hey, He's got our best interest, and He wants us to grow in Him, and He wants us to prosper. He wants us not only, spiritually, He wants us to prosper financially. He wants us to prosper, health-wise, mentally, every way. He wants us to prosper. And but we have so many distractions that we forget to focus on Him. And that's the story of, with Zach and Darlene when he was born, was I didn't have anything else to turn to. And so I turned to God, and He was there, said, hey, I'm here.
Yes. Wow. Well, Todd, thank you for getting on the ark. Thank you for watching Get on the Ark. There's a couple things you can do if you're watching. One, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We have shows Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. on YouTube, and we're on other social channels too. But the channel is Get on the Ark 22. And the biggest thing you can do to help us out is share. If you listen to this message and you feel like someone needs to hear it, send it to them. Send it to them. We're supposed to share God's message at work, where we live, where we play, everywhere. So we should share this to someone that you think needs to hear it, and let God do His thing. And another thing, if you have a story that you'd like to share on Get on the Ark, please go to our website, getontheark22.com. We love sharing testimonies and how God just shows off and shows up, and what a great God we have. So thanks again for watching. Thanks, Todd, for being here. Until next time.